Namaste everyone. Today's video is going to be about how to deal with anger. Now, before we get into the steps, it's important to understand what anger is. Anger is a helper emotion, and by that, I mean it helps us know that something's wrong. It helps us know that something's bothering us. There is always a concern underneath the emotion of anger. Anger on its own isn't bad. It's actually very helpful to tell us where the problem is or what the problem is, or that there is a problem. And by problem, what do I mean? It could be sadness. Anger could be a signal of sadness that has been suppressed. Anger could be a signal of disappointments, repeated disappointments. Anger could be masking some form of pain, some form of wounding from the past, or in the recent present that might not have been understood properly or addressed correctly, appropriately. And so anger, first of all, must not be looked at with shame or disgust. Okay, anger makes you human. Okay, anger means that you have depth. Your nervous system is working. Okay, it's helping. It's trying to get your attention to what's the problem. But more often than not, we tend to be consumed by the intensity of the anger that we don't think. We only think about avoiding the trigger and not trying to look underneath it. Not everybody can at first glance find out what's the anger signaling. Depending on the severity of the anger, depending on the severity of the emotion that is masked or that is signaled by the anger. Some people have very superficial anger, little outbursts throughout the day, or they have anger about only a particular issue or only a particular theme, topic, or a model scenario. Some people have anger only about one particular person or a set of people or a group of people. Some people have also more intense anger that they're not able to regulate, they're not able to process, understand where the anger is coming from, that they might act out in harsher ways, and that is not what we're dealing with here. So we are not trying to deal with that kind of anger that makes you do a really unlawful things. Okay, so the first thing is to remove the shame that is associated with feeling anger. So when we feel angry, sometimes the intensity of the anger itself is increased by our criticism to our own self for being angry. So you shouldn't shame yourself for feeling that. Okay, instead what you must do is start to try to understand what the anger is signaling you to look at. Okay, so sometimes it can be challenging to do this on our own. Sometimes we need help. Sometimes it can also be very well done by ourselves, but it will take time. Okay, and sometimes anger is also very complex. It may not be coming from one particular source. It could be multiple themes could anger us, and it all boils down to what is the pain point. What are the pain points that are being masked or protected by our nervous system in the form of anger? How can we start dealing with it? Okay, there are many ways to deal with it. Firstly, we can process it using physical activity. Okay, so anger is a form of energy. Okay, and we are full of energy. So if you want to sometimes dissipate the intensity of the energy in that moment, you start doing some physical activity. That is a healthy form of physical activity. I don't know, you can do some chores, you can go for a run, you can go for a hike, exercise on the mat, whatever. You can also do some vigorous breathing exercises, like Kapalbhati is an exercise that actually is a very good way to purge all the stagnant energy sometimes, and then make sure to follow it up with a calming breathing exercise, like maybe Anulum Vilum or alternate nostril breathing. Okay, I have given the instruction on how to do these two pranayams in my previous yoga flows, so if you're interested, you can go and check that out. It moves the energy around, and sometimes when the intensity of the energy comes down is when you actually tend to have more clarity. And here's how it works. Okay, so our nervous system is thinking that it is in fight or flight mode, right? So that means imagining that you are trying to defend yourself against a tiger, and you're in the forest. So your mind is thinking that you're either ready to fight the tiger, or you're ready to flee from that situation without being noticed by the tiger. Or there's also the freeze response, where you try to become immovable, and that the tiger doesn't sense your presence. So that's more like being in denial, right? So this is what your brain is thinking, and your nervous system is stuck in that situation. So what do? When you're doing these physical exercises, imagine you're trying to run away from the tiger, right? When you run, it gives a signal to the brain that, okay, I have done what I'm supposed to do in that moment. I have finished running and I am safe now. I have in that moment the urge to do something quick and swift and protective has been taken care by using that energy to exercise, and then it has more openness to calm down, because it feels more convinced that it is not in danger as much. Okay, I hope that makes sense. You might be thinking, oh, okay, physical activity doesn't actually change the situation. Yes, it does it, but it gives you that moment of clarity to really genuinely evaluate the depth of the situation, the intensity of the situation at which you got angry. Okay, and that clarity you wouldn't be able to get when you're trying to run away from the tiger, right? According to your nervous system, according to your brain. So you first have to take care of that. You first have to take care of that energy that is surging through you. So you take care of that first, and then you may still have the same problem, but at least you will have a little bit more of a clarity, and this is more experientially understood, I would say. And just try it out. Second is processing using journaling. Let's say you have anger that is really deep-seated, okay, and so there are only certain triggers that make you so angry that you cannot do anything else during the day. You feel stuck. And the same angry narrative is playing in your mind. You feel very you know that there is no solution to it, or you know that there may not be a lot you can do at that moment, but your mind loves solving problems, even if it's an unsolvable problem. So it keeps trying to regurgitate old anger. It makes you feel exhausted, and so you won't be able to do anything else than be in that anger. So if you relate to that, I recommend processing using journaling. Just take a piece of paper or your journal. I recommend more to take a piece of paper than a notebook, because then you can tear it up. So take a piece of paper, write everything down, all the mean things you would like to say to someone, or all the frustrating things, all the anything, no filters. Okay, don't have any filters, because nobody's going to read it, you can be sure of that. And just write it all down, everything that's bothering you. While you're writing that down, you might want to even poke the paper, or just scream or cry, whatever it is, in a safe space. That means when you're by yourself, when you are feeling that you're in a supportive environment, you can do that. Once you're done, you're going to give thanks to this emotion that helped you discover that these were your thoughts. These are what's represented by the anger that you have, because it is based essentially that part of you, the part of your nervous system that's trying to protect you. It's doing its job. It's looking out for you in the most loving way possible, because you matter to your body. Okay, your well-being matters to your body, and that's all it's concerned about. Okay, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a natural thing. So first you thank that emotion for having brought out all your feelings onto paper, which otherwise would not have been accessible if there was no anger to signal, to be a signal. Once everything is brought out and you've thanked that part of you that is looking out for you, now you can objectively try to understand what is the problem. Shift your mindset in that moment to make it a bit more relaxed and a bit more open, actually, a bit more objective. To see, the moment of clarity I talked about, you will feel the same moment of clarity even when you journal. Okay, and then if you're not able to find it, don't break your head. If you're able to understand what it is, at least even a little bit of understanding towards your own anger can make a lot of difference. It would give you a lot of self-compassion. You will stop seeing yourself as this angry person and forget about how other people look at you. When you look at yourself in that moment of anger, you know that it's coming from pain. You know that it's coming from all these things that are bothering you. It's coming from disappointment, sadness, whatever. You know that it is coming from that. Sometimes you won't get the solution for it right away. That is when you go to a professional, a therapist or someone like that, or there are so many resources online that help ourselves. So many we live in this digital age where there is so much information out there, and that we can make our own judgment as to what helps us and implement it. So we can try to understand this. So many information about psychology is available. But of course, if you can go to a professional who can give you a tailored advice, that is the best. But if not, for some reason you're not able to, then you can always use the large body of information available out there. All the while you're doing this process, have a lot of compassion for yourself, because that is very important. At any point, it can feel like you want to blame yourself for having this anger, or for having this situation that has brought this anger into you. It can feel like the easiest solution sometimes to just blame yourself, but no, you don't have to blame yourself. Sometimes the reason for certain instances may not become clear right away, but that doesn't mean that it would never become clear, right? So you have to give time a way to work for you. Now, once you've done this, I'm saying it as just a couple of sentences, but it might take months, years, even days, it depends. Once you've done that, you have to start reframing it, reframing the anger into something more helpful. Let's say you've done all of this and then you get angry again. You feel the urge to be angry. You feel the intensity of emotions coming up. In that moment you say, oh my God, something is actually bothering me. So you're moving the attention away from that intense energy into what is signaled by the anger. So the transition of your focus from that anger to what's underneath the anger becomes quicker, and that is a very important step, I believe, and that can happen only when you have processed your anger for quite some time. So that is when it becomes a bit more natural for your nervous system to cooperate with you, for your mind to cooperate with you towards reframing the anger as, oh, something's bothering me. What is bothering me? And then you become curious with it. Immediately, that the intensity of the emotion will drop. It will come down. And you will become more receptive to the self-inquiry that you can take up in that moment towards understanding, getting to the root of just what's bothering me in that moment. Why is this bothering me so much? Is it somehow tied to my self-worth? Is it somehow tied to my ability to understand myself, love others, show empathy to others? Why is this? Why does this make me feel different from others? Or why does those people feel, I don't know, different from have different opinions than you? And why is that difference of opinion an issue? So like that. So these are examples. So these kind of self-inquiry can be initiated when you have reduced the intensity of the moment. Okay? So the more you do this, the more it becomes easier to ride the waves of anger. Once you've processed all of this, and then you feel, okay, after some time something really that would anger you or disappoint you again happens, that is new, and that you have to deal with it all over again. And that might feel exhausting. It might feel like, oh my God, I have to deal with this all over again. I have to deal with this again. But here's the thing, if you once develop this muscle of trying to understand your emotions, especially those emotions that just take a lot away from you. So when you get angry, it drains you, right? I don't know if you've noticed. It drains you. When you get angry, it drains you. When you're fearful, it also drains you. But they are natural emotions. They just tell you what you're feeling. So that doesn't make it any less draining. It's understandable why it is draining, because they are survival emotions. So the brain, the body, the entire physiology of the body prioritizes survival over anything. And when it is in survival mode, obviously it prioritizes the energy consumption only for it, and everything else slows down. Digestion slows down, so many other immune functions slows down, so many other things slow down when you're in survival mode, right? This is explained by science. So it makes sense why it can feel very draining. And so you have to, when you develop this muscle of trying to understand and process and be gentle with yourself all the while, the more it will feel natural for you to do that instantly. It wouldn't feel very exhausting as you thought it would be. You would feel like you're better at it now, and that maybe you can arrive at the a better state of mind even quicker. So depending on the depth of what's being signaled by the anger, it can take some time to start increasing your focus on what you wish to build. Some people like to wake up and just tell themselves that no, today is going to be a great day. I am so grateful. I am generous. I am kind. I am surrounded by people who love me, and I am constantly attracting people who understand me, who get me, and who lift me up, who are happy for me. Things like this. I am attracting more abundance in the form of joy, in the form of wealth, in the form of health, and so on and so forth. So you have to change the narrative that is playing. Otherwise, even if you've processed it long enough, sometimes what happens is at certain stage it still keeps coming up, even though it'll be like, oh my god, here we go again, I have to process it again. And even though it might be a quicker process, you would still feel that, oh, I still am constantly dipping into the survival mode, when it is not technically needed. It is just a moment of problem solving. Problem solving can be done calmly also. So you can do that calmly, you can do that with more clarity without entering the fight or flight state. Or it can be a very brief period, very, very brief period. So you want to change the narrative of I am this person who has these moments of survival, to the narrative of I am someone who is thriving. I am someone who is creating this dream life little by little. And this changing the narrative, changing how you view your life, everyday life, how you view yourself as this person who has this life, having these experiences on a day-to-day basis. So that when that changes, when that efforts are taken step by step to reframe that, reprogram that, I think that's where truly magic starts happening. Okay, so even in those moments, you might have these moments of when you're trying to solve problems, survival. That's just a well-functioning nervous system. That's just a very good part of being a human. But that wouldn't take the center stage in your focus. It wouldn't take the center stage. It'll be like, oh yeah, okay, I momentarily got angry, or I momentarily was concerned about it, but it's fine. I am sorry. That would be the what you wish to create in your life, the kind of life that you wish to create tend to be more in your radar, tend to be more in your mind than those moments where you feel locked down. So this is a journey. So the whole thing is a long journey. But this is how it can possibly look like for someone. So I hope this was helpful. I'm not a licensed therapist or a doctor. Everything I share is from my own experience, and I hope this gave you some kind of clarity into dealing with your own anger. Okay, so take care. Namaste.